Hello, everyone. My guest today is Lindy Ledohowski. Now, she was a former English teacher and then English professor in Canada before becoming an EdTech CEO for academic writing software platform EssayJack. She's won numerous awards for her teaching, research, and publications and is now an award-winning entrepreneur. She's published both peer-reviewed scholarship and popular pieces on writing and offers keynote addresses on webinars related to EdTech, leadership, and academic writing. Dr. Lindy, you ready to take us to the top?
I sure am, Nathan. Let's get going.
All right. So my first question with a tool like this, EssayJack is who are you selling to? Because if you're selling to students, you got to figure they don't have much money.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And there are two answers to it. So one, depends what student you're thinking about. So typically, if you're thinking about the North American student straight up, you do have to have a certain kind of price sensitivity, absolutely, particularly at college and university level. If you're thinking about other regions in the world, so particularly, let's look at Asia, where English language learning is huge. Parents have a different attitude towards the investment in their child's education. So while there's still certainly a price sensitivity, the expectation that supplementary educational tools will be part and parcel of their child's education is a little bit more standardized than we typically see in a North American context. So yes, you got to sell to students and watch the price. Depends on where you're selling in the world. And then, of course, we also sell institutionally.
So what do you sell for? What's the average customer paying per month?
Yeah, so if it's just a student straight up, they're paying $9.99 a month or they're paying $99.99 a year. If it's a bulk license at a school, obviously you have lower pricing on a per seat basis, depending on what that institutional license looks like.
When you look at just last month's revenue, what percent came from bulk deals where it was like a school credit card paying you, right, or an accounting department versus a direct consumer sale?
Yeah, so if we're looking, so interestingly, like COVID is just weird. So the trends that we're seeing this year are not always the same as we see in previous years. So this year, it's a little bit more of a 50-50 split between our B2C or the direct to consumer and B2B, which is the institution. But in previous years, it's been more of like a 90-10 between institutions being the 90% and 10% being individuals. But right now, what we're seeing at least is that institutional budgets are there's still a lot of questions in terms of the investment into software. So some institutions have absolute discretionary budgets and they're like, yes, oh my God, we need help with teaching academic writing, particularly online where you don't have that face-to-face modeling of what's going on with teaching in the classroom. And then some institutions are like, we don't even know what enrollment is going to be like, and we're letting faculty go. So our budgets in terms of software look different. So we're really being flexible this year to try to be like, look, we just want to help people in the middle of a global pandemic. I mean, education opens doors for you, and that's really sort of our aim and objective. And then the money stuff will sort itself out is what we often like to say.
And Dr. Lindy, when did you launch the company?
So we launched it as a beta product at the end of 2015, so into 2016. We really launched it as a full business at the start of 2019.
Mm-hmm. The obvious question there is then going to be, you've got real expenses personally. How are you paying your bills while you're building beta between 2015 and 2019?
Yeah, so we did a huge shareholder loan to get us started, and then we raised 500,000 Canadian from friends and family. So that's about 350,000 USD at the time. And that was, so once we paid out of pocket first to get a thing out there and just be like, oh my God, we're academics. Does anybody even want this thing we've created? And it was a very shaky beta product. We got it out there. And then the traction and the demand was more than we could handle. And so we thought, oh, okay, there's something here. We need to raise money. We need to actually build a stable platform. We need to, hire some tech people. So it's not me answering help requests and sort of figuring out what to do from a technical level. I mean, I'm an English PhD. What do I know about code?
So when did you raise that 350? 2019?
Yeah, so that was 2017, 2018.
Okay, got it. 2018. And talk to me about shareholder loans. So I assume that was like you and your co-founders. How much was that loan for?
Yeah. So right now we're looking at it's about $1 million USD. It has gone in to get us up and off the ground. So the total total equity in the company to get us from sort of hey, this is an idea, let's get going. It's about 1.5 million USD.
But Dr. Lynn, I'm curious how you structured this because you used the word shareholder loan. So it's being paid back, correct? Or do they actually have equity?
So we have equity in the company as the founders as well. Right now, it's just structured as a straight up shareholder loan. Once we do an external raise, we may convert that loan into equity.
I see.
So our principal focus at the start was, look, we've invented an entire new category of product. We don't actually know if it's going to work, but we believe in it so much that we're going to put our money where our mouth is and really see where this takes us, as opposed to the more typical startup approach, which is, I'm going to spend somebody else's money, but then you're also driving somebody else's ship with various other co-pilots. And our focus was, well, we actually know the education business, and so we need to be able to respond in real time to unexpected things along the way as we figure out this business and this product. And we're not 20, so we said, you know what, let's put some real dollars into this and see where it takes us.
And what interest rate did you put on that loan, if any?
None. Right now, it just sits there as a loan on the book.
So it's literally you and your co-founders, or how many co-founders? 2?
No, just there's 2 of us in total. So myself and one other co-founder.
So you 2 together put in $1 million into the business of your own capital, structured as a loan, so you can get it paid back out at a future date if this thing works. And then you raised $350 officially in early 2018 from equity investors.
Yeah, that's right.
I see. Okay, very cool. Okay, let's jump back into the business.
By very cool, do you mean very terrifying?
Well, tell me about that. What was terrifying for you?
Yeah, it really is. We had the long, hard conversations about the 2 paths we could take. And as I say, it was the one path was get investment in early and give up a larger stake in the company. Or the second is take on a huge amount of personal risk. And again, the risk is that $1 million we've put in never gets paid back, that this fantastic idea that we're seeing making a difference in people's lives fails. That's always a possibility. And you have to kind of get okay with that. And that's tough.
Yep. No, it's tough. It's part of the slog, but if it works big for you guys and you still have total control. So let's talk about growth, right? So today, how many students do you have actively using the platform on a monthly basis?
So over 30,000 students on a monthly basis are our active users.
Okay, that's incredible. And how many of them have you converted to paid?
Probably now. I should have looked at my data just before coming on.
A range is fine, yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's probably about maybe 50% of those are paying users. And then some of those are say in an educational institution. So they might be on a free pilot now, but they're sort of in a sales funnel, and our hope is that we'll move them forward and close that as an institutional sale.
How many consumers or students directly pay you? So not through a school's bundled package?
Yeah, so that's where right now it's quite small. So our monthly individual subscriber is, I think, around 1,000-ish. So that's what we've really just been launching, in response to COVID, to give people that flexibility to say, hey, don't wait for your teachers or your institutions, but you can also make sure that you're prepared for college and university with software that can help you, even if there are gaps in what's happening in terms of face-to-face or what's happening in terms of sometimes students just find it hard to learn by Zoom if that's all they're getting. And so we're finding that they're turning to us as a trusted resource.
No, I love that. Now, can I take 1,000 paying you directly times sort of that $9.99 price point? You're doing about $10,000 a month direct to consumer, which you said is 50%, and another $10,000 a month in the bulk deals, so $20,000 a month total.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's great. Okay, so this is not easy. Getting your first $10,000, $20,000 a month in sales is not easy. 1,000 individual customers is not easy. How'd you get the first 100?
Yeah, we basically begged, borrowed, and stealed. No, we ultimately we counted, and we still count on word of mouth. So we have essentially a kind of nothing marketing budget. And so it's myself and one other person, and we're out there sort of slogging. Content is essentially the key. Is what we've realized is that really having a content strategy that says, like, look, so we've got this software that adds real value if you have to write in English. But we've also got ebooks and blogs and video resources, and I'll do webinars, things like that, so that it's we've got an ecosystem of people who are connected with us, whether those are students or parents or educators, where our aim is really to add value. I mean, I could have spent my life teaching English at university. I had a tenure track job. That's the kind of job for life. So I could have done that. And I said, well, actually, if we take this gamble and develop software, that's far more scalable. I can take the things that I was fortunate enough to learn and master as a scholar and teacher myself, and I can digitize it. And then it levels the playing field so that if somebody happens to not have the good fortune of, say, being in Dr. Lindy's class, they can still access the skills and the tools and the tricks of the trade that I'm able to make available for them. And so that's a roundabout answer to say content and providing really valuable content is the way that we got those first 100 individual customers, but that's also the way that we've been able to get into schools, colleges, and universities
I'd love to get a specific there so people can like really feel like they know you. So like the first 10 customers or like the first piece of content you wrote, what was the title?
Yeah. So in terms of the very first customers, what often I would do would be I'd go and do this is pre-pandemic. I would do a free web or a free in-person workshop on writing. So it would be touted as a writing workshop. I'd show up at a university.
Who's marketing
and
it?
I would just,
the university's marketing it?
So the university would market it. So the department, whatever department it would be, social sciences or English department or a writing center. And I would and that would be a thing that I would offer them, which is, here are the principles of good writing. Here's how you structure academic writing. This is what people are looking for. And then from that, we'd have, at that point, we'd have sort of 65% of the people who are in that workshop sign up for an EssayJack trial immediately. And what we still find, so now in this sort of more digital context, I'll say partner with an organization. So I did a webinar this summer with Pro Writing Aid, which is an online sort of text editing software. And I did a webinar with them on the principles of academic writing, particularly for graduate students. So it was like, how do you write a thesis? How do you write a master's thesis? What are the component parts? So what do you put in a lit review? What do you say in a methodology section? So those are things that for that particular audience, if you're a master's student, you've just graduated from your BA, you don't know what to do in life, you enroll in a master's program, and now you have to write a thesis. Nobody's ever trained you, and you kind of have to learn along the way. So if I can demystify that and do that in a webinar, and then people are like, oh, okay, let's check out this software, that's sort of a real-time use case very recently.
And Dr. Lindy, talk to me about the team you've used to build this. How many people on the team today?
Yeah. So right now it's myself and 5 other people. So there's 6 of us. Okay. So we've got a product owner. And so he kind of straddles the line between the tech and the business side. There's one girl who helps me with the marketing, client support, everything that's non-tech. And of course, we also show up to all of our tech meetings. And then we have 3 full-time dedicated developers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, three developers. That's great. And any quota-carrying sales reps, or no, you're doing all the sales?
So right now, I'm doing all the sales. We're in the middle of our very first external fundraise, and the number one person I want to hire is somebody to do sales. Because to be honest, it's really time-consuming, and I'm doing 6 people's jobs, with sales only being one of that. And that's really hard because ultimately we know that to be successful in sales, you have to develop relationships with people. In order to close those deals, they really do need to feel as though you've heard their needs and you're able to provide something that answers their needs. And I truly believe that. But sometimes it's hard when I'm like talking to investors and I'm talking to tech and I'm building out blogs and I'm doing webinars to also call up and be like, hey, so
you have all the hats
ready to close that deal.
You're rocking all the hats. I love that. Yeah. You mentioned you're raising now. How much are you looking to raise?
We're raising $2 million USD, and this is our seed. We're now saying, okay, we've gone through all of the sort of depths of despair, and now we'll be a more straight up sort of ed tech company with external investors, and we have fewer questions about what that path and that direction forward is going to look like than we had when we raised our friends and family round.
And what valuation are you hoping to raise the $2 million on? Obviously, you got to negotiate it. But what's your hope?
Yeah, so to be honest, it'll probably be in the ballpark of around an 8 million USD, give or take.
Pre money or post?
Probably pre-money.
Pre, yeah. So 8 post if you can lock that in. That's great. Yeah. So and you will do then a price draw. That won't be an 8 million cap on a safe or something.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And how much of that would you use? Some of that $2 million to pay back the owner loans of $1 million?
Not at this point. No. Okay. The expectation in terms of payback of that shareholder loan is like at an exit. So the intention is to fuel growth, not. I mean, as much as I'd like to line my pockets, I'm able to be patient and line those pockets later to see. Like, my vision is that nobody should have to stare at a blank page when they have something to write. Now, we're starting in the education space to help students who have academic writing and that blank page that stares at them. But realistically, at the end of the day, nobody should have to stare at that blank page. And so whether that's business writing or corporate writing or government writing or academic writing, which is the field that I know, and I'm willing to keep my pockets emptier than I would like them to be in order to see that real vision fulfilled. That's something that I would like to have as my contribution to the world at large when my life is over.
Are students sticking? What's churn rate look like?
Yeah, so it's still kind of early days in terms of the individual subscribers as opposed to the bulk licenses where they might buy it for a grade and the expectation is that it's available for that particular program or that particular grade, and then you roll new students in the subsequent year. So with respect to the individual subscribers, typically we're seeing sort of a year or two ends up being the kind of duration of how long they stick with EssayJack. And again, that's dependent upon what program they're in and what they need it for, what they want it for, and how we can help them.
Yep. So that if you're 1 to 2 years, you're talking then somewhere between like 50 and 100% annual churn rate on those student subscribers then. Yeah,
it's about 50% right now, but as I say, it's like we really started rolling out. Yeah, it's early days.
Did you spend any money on ads last month?
No.
Okay, cool. So no paid ads. I mean, so if I asked you what your CAC is, you wouldn't have an answer because it's really sweat equity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can give you a customer acquisition cost that takes into account my time and the time of another person, but it's not going to be a sort of accurate, ad spend direct. If I spend this dollar, this. So in some ways it's an academic conversation.
Yeah. You're figuring it all out. This is what you got to go through. Very cool. Well, hey, listen, this has been wonderful. Let's wrap up Dr. Lindy with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
You know what? My favorite business book is actually a tech book, and it's Don't Make Me Think. And it's a really great sort of UI, UX book. So I'm cheating a bit. It's not technically business, but I love it.
And number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
So this is a Canadian context. A business leader I really like is Arlene Dickinson. She runs a fund and she's sort of a successful entrepreneur and is on Canada's Dragon's Den. But I think as a woman leader, she's really inspiring. So I keep tabs on what she does through social media.
Number 3, besides your own, what's your favorite online tool?
I'm a big fan of Slack, I got to say. And I was pretty excited to see the recent acquisition. But so Slack.
$22 billion. We'll see what happens there. Number 4, how many hours of sleep are you getting every night?
Probably about 4.
Okay. And what's your situation, Dr. Lindy? Married, single, kiddos?
I am married. I have no kids, but I am a crazy cat lady. I have a beautiful little 2-year-old kitty cat that we brought back from Asia with us.
I love that. And can I ask how old you are?
I am 44.
Last question. Take us back 24 years. What's something you wish you knew when you were 20?
Oh my goodness. I think when I was 20, I wish I knew it would all be okay.
Guys, there you have it. Dr. Lindy EssayJack, her contribution to the world, helping right now academic folks write better academic papers so they never have to start writing looking at a blank page. Currently is doing about $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue, but it's been a long slog. Launched in 2015. Her and her partner put in $1 million into the business as a loan. They raised $358,000 externally. They've grown the business, officially launched in 2019. Now growing nicely even during COVID, looking to raise $2 million on an $8 million pre. We're rooting for you, Dr. Lindy. Thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks so much. Bye.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.